Hello students, and welcome to another legal translation electronic class. This time it's about birth and death certificates. An overview of these certificates is that they are fairly detailed. There is a lot of information on these documents, but these information tend to be simple. I assume most of the students are familiar with the vocabularies and how you translate them, except certain areas which could be difficult for students to translate those vocabularies, which I'll mention in the next slide. As the name tells, this birth certificate is about someone or information about someone who was born. Yeah, I mean it's intuitive. Everyone knows what it is exactly. And this certificate, likewise, the same thing. It's about a certificate that details someone's death, talks about information surrounding the death of that person, and so on, as we'll see in the coming slides. But before I talk about the next point, I'd like to tell you that I'll make two videos, one video about the birth certificate and the second about death certificate. All right? These two certificates, the next point states here that it is produced for different purposes. If you remember the first lessons, we discussed or we translated documents that were related to the civil status law, Iraqi civil status law. Same thing. These documents are mostly used by people who work around the area of civil status law and nationality and so on. It's also important, these documents are also important because they tell us about the number of births and deaths every year. In case annual statistics are conducted. Annual statistics, that is, every year people who are responsible for collecting information about the birth and the deaths of people produce a report about the number of deaths and births in a year in Iraq and Iraqi Kurdistan as well. I don't want to take too long as I see here because seriously, these are pretty detailed and they contain a lot of information. So let's just go to the document. As you see here in this document right here is used by Iraq but not used in Iraqi Kurdistan. Reason being is this is the latest version. This is the newest version of the birth certificate. Iraqi Kurdistan is still lagging on, is still behind slightly. It has the previous edition, which does not have a lot of these information. So, with this being said, I'm going to have both of the Kurdish and the Arabic version on the test. So you should relax and brace yourself. Do not be concerned whether or not you'll have the Arabic version only on the test, and consequently you will not be able to translate this document correctly. Do not worry about that. I assure you, rest assured, that all of the documents will be bilingual on the test. Anyways, as you can see, I have not put the vocabularies here because I'll start with the translation. I'll start with giving the translation of these vocabularies. But afterwards, let me see. Yes, afterwards I have the vocabularies used in this document for you as a reference to go back to every time you want to translate something. I'm going to use Arabic and Kurdish, okay? All right, so Republic of Iraq, Ministry of Health, Directorate of Health of whichever governorate. If it's the Hook, then you write the Hook. If it's Mosul, you write Mosul, and so on. All right. So this is the number of certificate, organization date, and this is also the time. Yes. All right. This is birth certificate and the civil status version or the civil status copy. Depends whatever, it's up to you whatever choice of word you use there, whether it's you say copy or version, even edition, doesn't really matter. It's the same thing. Sorry about that. I'm really sorry about that. Okay, This document is important because sometimes let's say a father and a mother, they have children, but both of them are not Iraqis. Yeah, so this document is important for the children because part of having Iraqi nationality or certificate of nationality is having this birth certificate. Let's start with the translation of this document. So Al-Walid here, Yebui, is the child. You just basically say child. This is name. Al-Jins, Ragaz in this case, you translate to either gender or sex. Although there is a difference between gender and sex, but for the sake of translation, either of the two will be sufficient. Doesn't really matter if you choose gender or you use sex. For me, both of them are correct. 3 here, محل الولادة جهش ضيبونة. Okay, Al-Qarya, which is village. محل الولادة is place of birth. Al-Qarya, Gund, village. Nahya is Nahya as well in Kurdish, but in English you just translate it to area. Believe it or not, there are people who translate this, or rather transliterate it to Al-Nahya in English as well. But I disagree with that. You should just write area instead of Al-Nahya or transliteration. You should not do that. Al-Qadha, Qaza in Kurdish, we call it township. Next is Muhafadha, Parizga. In this case, Parizga is governorate. And Da'irat al-Sahara Vabariya, Tandurusti, we call it Directorate of Health. All right. So birth, Jdoigbun, was it natural, tabi'i, natural, or Qaisari? Now, Qaisari, also known in English as cesarean cut, meaning that it required a procedure, an operation with doctors making an incision, a cut in the belly of the woman to deliver the baby. So was it a natural birth or was it a cesarean birth? Which of the two? All right. Afterwards, was it mufrad, tagbu? Was it single? Was it tawam, jimik, twins? Was it thulathia, se, triplets in English? Akthar, pitr, or more in English? All right. So afterwards, we have tarikh al-wilada, raqam wa kitabatan, date of birth, number, and written, numeral and written. Both of them are correct. This is sa'a, damjmer, which is time, day, اليوم, rouge, day. This is month, and this is year. Okay, this is information about the father right here. So you have the father, full name. You don't say third name or the 3 names. You just say full name here. Age, taman. This is occupation, all right? And this is nationality. If they're Iraqis, you're at Iraqi. If there are not Iraqis, as I said earlier, maybe some of them are not Iraqis and they have moved to Iraq. Let's say they're Syrians, you write Syrian here, and so on. Diyana is religion, okay? Muslim, Yazidi, Christian, Jewish, and so on. Or any kind of religion that exists in Iraq or outside of Iraq. Okay, this is the same information but for the mother, all right? So, number 16 right here says, هل هنالك صلة قرابة بين الأم والأب? Is there familial relation between the father and the mother? Okay, is there any familiar relationship? Is there any familiar relation? Meaning, was the father and the mother, or were the father and the mother cousins or related in any way to each other? If it's yes, you say yes, cousins. Okay. If no, you just write no. It wasn't. They were not related to each other. Okay. Number 17. عدد المواليد السابقة للأم عدا هذا الطفل is basically number of previous births of the mother besides this present child, or you can say besides this child. Living, meaning how many children does this woman have? Okay, let's say she has 2 children, you write 2. Okay, next is المولودين الأحياء ثم توفوا. This is known as neonatal deaths. It means the baby is born and then in a span of a month, 2 months, the baby passes away. Okay, neonatal death. الذين ولدوا أمواتا أو بن أمري, stillbirths. Okay, they're it's known in English as stillbirth. Next is الذين ولدوا معوقين, born with deformations. Okay, if they have any deformations, you're right, children born with deformations. عدد الإسقاطات إن وجدت بتجيكي جنوفشوي جيتشوي. In English it's number of miscarriages if present. هل الولادة الحالية معوقة؟ يحدد نوع العوق. Basically this is asking if the present child who was just delivered, if they have, I'm using the pronoun, the gender neutral pronoun they, so do not be surprised. If the present child, if they do not have, if they have any deformations, you write the deformation right here. Okay, so in translation, on translating this statement, you say if deformities exist, determine here. So you write right here the kind of deformities or deformations. Number 18 is about the time, the period of pregnancy. It's in weeks, as you can see. I think previously it was in months. Previously it was in months. I think in Iraqi Kurdistan it still has the version that contains or has the information month right here instead of week. This is more accurate medically, I guess, because it's semesters. You say trimester. I don't know. It's a kind of a certain periods. It's certain periods that doctors are familiar with. Number 19 is وزن الطفل كيشا بتشيكي. In this case, a weight of baby. Number 20, it's in grams, by the way. It's not kilograms, it's grams, because the baby is really small, and some of them actually do weigh kilograms, 2 kilograms, 3 kilograms, a lot of them. Depends on the baby, depends on the condition, and so on. But here you write in grams, okay? 20 is مكان الولادة, the place of birth, whether it was in the house or in the hospital. If it was in a hospital or a health center, you write the name of the hospital or the health center here. The next is about information of how the child was delivered. So you say delivery was undertaken. حدثت الولادة بواسطة. Delivery was undertaken. Was it by a doctor or a licensed delivery and labor nurse? Was it a licensed delivery and labor nurse? Or was it a midwife? A midwife is someone who's trained in assisting doctors who are performing deliveries. Okay, so there are people who are familiar with how to give birth to, not to give birth, to deliver a baby, basically. The next is number of license. If it was conducted by a midwife, and of course she has to be licensed, you have to write the number of the license, as well as the year of getting the midwife or the midwife license, the license which permits her, or mostly are girls, so this is why I say permits her to perform the occupation of a midwife. أخرى, or maybe the child was delivered by the father of the baby. Who knows? If there was any kind of information like that, you write here. So others, okay, or other, without the S. Number 22. This is about the address of the child's family. So العنوان الدائم لعائلة المولود. Permanent address of child's family. All right, this is the number of the house. This is the alley. Remember, I think you've already translated this word before. This is the neighborhood or the village. Okay, this is Nahya, area, as we said previously. This is Qadha, township. Muhafadha, this is governorate. Number 23 is about information which are related to the Civil Status and Nationality Directorates. So, okay, so information for Directorate of Nationality and Civil Status. This is number of register, رقم السجل, because if you are born, they produce a certain register for you with a page that has information containing information about your father, your mother, yourself, if you have sisters, siblings, and so on. All right. So this is the number of register, and this is the number of the page. What kind of where is the directory located? So دائرة جنسية والأحوال, let's say, of Duhok. All right. So you translate this to directorate of civil status of, let's say, Duhok. محافظة, well, Duhok in this case, governorate of Duhok. الرقم المدني للأب, which is translated to the civil number of the father, and because every family has a civil number, and the civil number normally for the family is that of the fathers. All right. Okay. In case the birth was reported by someone comes to the hospital and they say, there is in this neighborhood, there's a child who was born, and I would like to, I came to the hospital so I can tell you that, this child was born, and so on. All right. So the name of the reporter, you write right here, and then you write the address and his relation or their relation to the child. All right. Their relation to the child. Number 25 is basically you're telling the the civil status directorate that you actually you tell them, you witness that this document is true and it does not contain any information that are invalid or not true. So أشهد بأن هذا الطفل ولد حيا في تاريخ المبين أعلاه. You say, I witness that this child was born alive in the date shown above. Okay, it's right here, the information right here, which is I forgot where it is exactly, but you basically it's around here, I guess. Okay, so name of the child, and one الاشتغال, in this case it's occupation details or occupational details. It's about the person who is reporting. It's about the job of the reporter. What is his job? What does he work? So they have to write here, and then the signature and the stamp of, let's say, I guess the signature in this case of the reporter. I think the stamp in this case, they mean the thumbprint, because people do not normally have a unique stamp, like in olden days when the aristocracy had a certain stamp where they would stamp and people would know that this stamp belongs to this person. So I assume this is the signature and the thumbprint of the reporter. Next is مدير المستشفى أو من ينوب عنه, which is translated to the manager of the hospital or their deputy or vice, but we use deputy in this case because it's more semantically and pragmatically correct. It's more correct to say their deputy. So it's full name and signature. This is ختم الجهة المسؤولة عن تنظيم الشهادة. This is basically where you basically stamp. I think that this is where the hospital stamp is placed. They put it right here, but in translation you translate this to stamp of certificate organizers, okay, or organizer, because it's only one person. Going towards the final information here, so not the final of course because we have other information mentioned right here, but these are pretty simple. But نموذج صادر بموجب قانون 148 لسنة 1971 عن وزارة الصحة دائرة التخطيط وتنمية الموارد قسم الإحصاء الصحي والحياتي. It's a bit of a stretcher really, so this is translated. This template is issued according to Act number 148 for the year 1971. by the Ministry of Health, Directorate of Planning and Resource Development, Department of Life. This is Life and Health Statistics. Okay. Final information here. This is I think this part is for Civil Status Directorate, or no, sorry, this is for the Bureau of this is Maktab, in English is known as Bureau. Okay, Bureau. So سجلت لدى دائرة الصحة, registered at the Directorate of Health, Bureau of Births and Certificate. I'm sorry about that. This is Bureau of Births and Deaths. Under series, tasalsul is series, the numbers, numerals, I mean, in an order. Under series, and then the number here for the year, and then you write the year. This is stamp and signature. Okay. As I have said, I've provided all of the information which I have used in the document. I'll put up this document with the Kurdish version on Moodle for you to translate the next time. I'll make another video for the death certificate. I'm sorry for speaking too fast because I didn't want to take too long for this document, as you can see, because it contains a lot of information. So I wanted to talk too fast. So the time of the electronic lesson is determined to be short. So this is why I spoke too fast, and I apologize. But since this is an electronic lesson, you can control the pace or the speed of this lesson. Thank you very much and have a very, very good day. Take care.